Actually, underreported about that Quantico speech wasn't just generals. It was also senior enlisted leaders, top NCOs, who are the ones that enforce standards. And in fact, a lot of their heads were nodding the most. They're like, yeah, thank you for letting us do our job to make sure our formations are what they should be. Because you remember Giuliani in New York, the broken windows theory of policing? If you don't police the small stuff, if you let the beards go and the bellies go and the uniforms go and the fitness standards go, pretty soon the big stuff goes. Then because our whole military is premised on unit cohesion and unity of mission. That's why diversity is our strength. It's such a dumb slogan. It's the dumbest slogan of all time.
So a couple things there. First of all, I love that he's come up with a way to just go on TV and be like, we don't need anyone other than white people. We don't need black people. We don't need brown people. Diversity, ugh, it's gross. I didn't technically say those races are bad. I just effectively said that all non-white races are bad. Isn't that amazing that he's come up with a little shortcut for himself? Also, I love that he's up there talking about standard slipping. You know, you let things slide, like having a drunk head up the Department of Defense, having a guy accused of sexual assault in a leadership position. I agree with him. It's bad when standards start to slip. And also, he's there attacking beards. There's nothing wrong with beards. Usha seems nice. Get off her back. But anyway, that's also Donald Trump. That's Pete Hegseth trying to pretend to himself that his speech was better received than any indication has been given that it is. So he says, well, yeah, it wasn't just generals. I can't even pretend that they give a crap about me or have any respect for me. There was also heads of the enlisted in the military, and they were nodding, saying, thank you for freeing us up. No, they didn't say that. You're just gonna tell us what a nod that we didn't even see means? That's like the most Michael Scott BS I've ever seen. Like him just trying to do a monologue based on a nod he says he saw. I saw the speech. I know that nobody was clapping for that. Nobody was cheering for his little pathetic applause lines. And now he's still chasing that high. He could be off doing military stuff. Instead, he's talking to Peter Doocy before some Trump speech or whatever, just desperate to feel like he's popular, that people think he's cool and people think he's tough when nobody actually does. And I want to turn now to some actual vets, Marine vet, Ruben Gallego, obviously politician. We're gonna let him actually speak. We're not just gonna have him nod and then I'll tell you what the nod means. Here is what an actual vet thinks of Pete Hegseth.
You're a veteran, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what you thought of Secretary Hegseth's and President Trump's discussion before the generals at Quantico.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It was, number one, it politicizes more the military, which is what you don't want to do. As someone who has sat in briefings of that nature, it really tells you what's happening. It's definitely clear that Secretary of Defense Hegseth is trying to compensate for something. Everything he did at that meeting, he could have sent in an email. He was just trying to, show force, and he looked very weak in the process.
What do you think he's trying to compensate for?
I think the fact that he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows that within the Department of Defense, people think he's a laughingstock and that he is probably one of the worst Secretary of Defense that this country has had. And I think he's trying to exert his power over some of these generals, but it's not gonna help when he clearly is way out of his league.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that. He's a TV guy. That's why he was chosen. Donald Trump saw him on TV and was like, I liked him. And what has he done so far as head of our military? They spent $50,000 for him to have a little makeup room or whatever, because again, like with Kristi Noem, it's just TV appearances, photo ops, little hype videos online. That's all that they actually care about. There was Signalgate. I think we paid a bunch to repaint his apartment in DC or something. What else has been going on? What has he done that has made our military amazing? He's banning different groups, he's throwing people out, and then also he gets to just sit and twiddle his thumbs as Donald Trump dispatches our military against our fellow citizens. And he can't say anything about that. I mean, he formerly served in the military. He knows that's not what the military is supposed to be for, but he knows that if he ever actually stands up for either the military that doesn't want to be used in that way, or for the American people that don't want to have our military dispatched against them, if he does either of those things, that's it. And he's not only thrown out of his position as Secretary of Defense, but he'll probably also be banned from Fox News. And what will become of him then? And so he's there to give his little speeches. Talk to Peter Doocy. It's pathetic. JR, what do you think?
Well, it's pretty obvious. When you when you have to go on TV after you have this big military speech where you bring in all the leaders and they stand in front of you and they look like they respect you when they had nothing to say to your bad lines, and you have to go and try and explain it to Peter Doocy on Fox News, it's a biggest indicator that you're trying to rename this or reframe what it is that happened so that people will believe whatever narrative you're trying to put forward. Like if you have it's weird, people with confidence and accomplishments don't have to keep telling you how accomplished and confident they are, Like real power and real actual leadership doesn't have to keep saying, you guys know, did you guys know, did you know I'm a leader? Did you guys know, did you know they follow me? Did you know they like me? Did you know they like me? It's all this president does. And then everybody that follows him has to also carry behind that same kind of energy. So I'm not sure why they think this is a good look. Everyone saw how it was. Everyone heard what you said, but instead you have to go, well, these military leaders, they all love me. Over on the watch party, I was talking about Hertling, the retired Lieutenant General, I believe I get his title right. Apologies if I didn't. But he was talking about how military leaders, as they left that speech, they probably had to think about what is that they can and can't do, and what is that they'll do in response if they're demanded to do these things. I don't think we should underestimate how directly important this whole thing is, and the things that Hegseth and Trump said at that event, and the response potentially from these leaders. I hate to be this more negative guy, but we're at the make or break point now.
Yeah.
And it's either make or break. This is the last, not last, but this is the aspect of the military coup that's a part of these fascists take over this country. And we can keep not taking it seriously, but they literally just said they're coming to kill us.
Yeah, by the way, let's take from that speech, obviously what he was doing was not only a waste of time, but also it was dark. It was dark stuff. Him and Trump talking about dispatching the military against us, using our cities as training grounds. But you know what could have happened at that speech? They could have gotten the applause they wanted. They could have had generals cheering for them, enthusiastic. That could have happened. Trump would have loved it. They wouldn't have got in trouble or anything like that. They would have absolutely loved it. But that didn't actually happen. And that is, I think, one of the most positive things, literally, that has happened so far in Trump's presidency, is a reminder that, not necessarily gonna save us, again, the military is going into these cities, but those actually directly in charge of the military do not seem nearly as enthusiastic as these imposters that are temporarily holding these important positions. Your Stephen Millers, your Tom Homans, your Pete Hegseths, your Donald Trumps, and all of that. They want all of this stuff. Thankfully, they will need more years to totally replace everyone with loyalists. And they're in the process of doing that. I mean, over the weekend, there are top people, I believe in the Navy, that were fired. They're trying to get rid of all of these people, in some cases for incredibly petty reasons, but it is going to take a little bit of time, and maybe that gives us the buffer to retake control of the government. That said, I wanted to get in more of what Pete Hegseth has said over his career about women. He has always been against women serving in the military. Small men, as we all know, are always and forever terrified of strong women. But we're going to move on to other ridiculous stuff he's been saying. I just want to remind everyone too, his speech and Trump's speech were sort of different. Trump is very focused on, we're going to crush the left, we're going to crush the terrorists, all that fascist, you should be terrified of your own country stuff. Meanwhile, he's doing all the identity politics stuff, all the look stuff. He's trying to weed out, he's trying to weed out women, he's trying to weed out racial minorities and everything. Isn't it funny that they've got this guy? He's the one who's supposed to be the military guy, but he's just focused on people's waistlines and their chins. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is dispatching them to potentially gun down protesters. It's weird, the asymmetry there.